Sheriff Laughlin. Terry Husk.
I had a question about some flyers I keep seeing. White power. Is that the Aryan Nation?
You know what my problem is with every fanatic?
You have to have somebody to blame for your life.
You know those pamphlets you saw? It's not all. This was in June. A bomb went off at a synagogue in Boise. That's just the beginning.
Beginning of what?
The Order is based on a true story, and it's essentially the cat and mouse game between FBI agent Terry Husk, played by Jude, and Bob Matthews, and this is played by Nicholas Hoult. This is in the 80s America, where somewhere in Idaho, the Aryan nations and white supremacist movement was steadily picking up pace, and Bob Matthews is part of this. It's very much a real story, very gripping and very scary, with a lot of things that are still happening today. So first impression, Buzz, when you sat down to see this film, we watched it on Prime, what were you expecting?
Yeah, so it kind of, as you say, it's gripping, and I'll use another word beginning with G. It's very gritty as well. It's kind of, for me, this is like a little bit like True Detective, and also I'm getting a little bit of a vibe of like Prisoners as well when I was watching this film. In that, it's very atmospheric, and you know, Jude Law, who plays Terry Husk, the kind of lead investigator of the shenanigans, what's going on. You know, he is a very interesting character, and clearly has got a history, and you know, he's a little bit damaged. You know, all the best detectives do seem to be a little bit damaged, don't they, in their own way. But yeah, no, I found this quite fascinating. I didn't even know this was a true story as well. This Bob Matthews was a figure in history, clearly very charismatic, as you have to be if you're leading a cult, you know. But it kind of, you know, it had that we've all seen that kind of film before, of there's a cult, there's one man leading the charge who's very good with his words and gets a string of people involved. But you know, it's fascinating to think that this is all real. And I think me and you even said that you know, the Waco massacre that happened in America, well, halfway through this film I believe that it was something to do with that, and that's what it was based on. But it's completely, I'm sure there's loads of stories in America of this sort of situation going on, but yeah, the Nicholas Hoult, the acting is probably the best thing about this film, wouldn't you agree, Alex? Because, I mean, Nicholas Hoult's got quite a few good films on his CV now under his belt, and this just adds a mixture, doesn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, it's a fine line. It's a fine line to do a role like this, because he's the villain, and he could have played this in any shape or form. You know, he could have been a cartoonish type of sort of a character, but actually he plays it very real, because essentially he's like an outcast of the Aryan Nations movement, and because he decides to step away, form his own little gang, and actually do something. So the teachings that he got from the Aryan Nations group, he says, okay, we're all just talking, so I'm just gonna do something that I'm sure we're actually saying we're gonna do, and those things are assassinations, bank robberies, and essentially culminating with toppling the government, the US government. And he just gets on and does that. But the way he does it, he's a very charming chap, he's a very normal chap, and he is able to recruit, and he's able to convince people and speak in front of people. And that is very hard to play, because he's not this guy that you see, you know, you can clearly see it from the first get-go that he's the villain. And that's hard to achieve as an actor, and this is played very well. I think, if I think about his performances, Nicholas Hoult, I think this is one of the best I've seen, because he's been in other stuff, but this is like really true acting skill.
Hey, Bob. Hey, Bob. You ready to go? Hey, Bob, I got the truck outside. What is this?
Declaration of war.
Who am I sending to?
Congress, House of Representatives, White House, New York Times, Denver News. happening. The war has begun.
Fuck, there's no fucking army. Everybody's gone.
Cattle die. Kinsmen die. I too shall die. But the one thing that I know that never dies is the fame of a dead man's deeds.
And obviously Jude Law is also up there. But in regards to the actual film, another thing that it reminded me of is Sicario, actually, because it's a lot of... There's a couple of scenes that are very tensionate and scary, especially the one when there's a on foot chase after Jude Law's character is chasing him, and I thought that reminded me of Sicario because the danger can shoot back at you essentially. Did you have those type of moments while you were watching, Buzz?
Yes, yeah, I did, and I think what one of the things that has come to light in the last 10 years is that films like this need to be subtle with the violence and the theatrics of crime, and this I think what you just hit on then is there isn't any Shazam, or there isn't any crazy theatre in life in general, really. And I know what you mean when the suspense is in this film. It is so impactful because it looks just like it's almost like documentary like, isn't it? And as you say, there is a particular scene where it's not just always going to be a chase. This enemy can shoot back at you, and the fear really is there. And I really enjoyed that. And also, I'd say that, if there's one film that I think could have done with an extra half an hour added onto it, I'll be quite happy with that, because I almost felt like, the conclusion of the film, the last 25 minutes, it was all like, oh, okay, it's all just being wrapped up now. And I thought the slow pacing that they got spot on in the initial third of the film, I would have quite liked another half an hour added on. I'm not sure what you think, but yeah, just the concept of anti-Semitic kind of attitudes in America, and obviously they're anti anyone of color. These ideas are still alive today, and Bob Matthews in the film, it has quite a good line. Essentially, I'm probably going to butcher it now, but he says that the words of a fallen man will live on forever. The fame of the deed of the fallen man will live on forever. And I thought that was quite poetic. I'm not sure if he actually said that. And he just goes on to say that these ideas that they're thinking of now and what was the 80s will live on. And in a way they kind of are, aren't they? We still have this issue of people who are white supremacists, and they might be subtle at it, but they're out there still. So yeah, it plays on some great ideas in the films that are worth thought-provoking, aren't they?
Yeah. I mean, that's a chilling moment because it's essentially how a terrorist thinks.
Sure.
But there's another scene that I really and it's early in the movie, and it just pours cold water over him and just gets you pinned to the chair. Because it's early in the film and you're thinking, okay, I'm watching something special here. So he meets, Bob Matthews' character, Nicholas Hoult, meets with his former mentor, that is the founder of the Aryan nations back in the 80s.
Yes.
And when they meet in the street, he's there to tell him, Bob, stop doing these bank robberies because you're attracting the FBI, which we know from a previous scene that the FBI agent has been to the Aryan nations headquarters, let's call it. And then he literally tells Bob, say, you're doing it wrong. Just bear with us for 10 years and we will have more people in the House of Senate and Parliament to make a bigger impact. And that's just a chilling moment because this was the 80s, 4 decades ago. And yes, it was a little bit off by a few years, but it is happening today. And it's just so, you're thinking, wait, am I watching a documentary? Am I watching a real film? And that just is just immediately put me on my alert, because like, okay, this is even though it's in the 80s, it's a very current issue and movement. And I was thinking, okay, we're watching something good here. And the director has done a couple of films that I liked, but he's definitely an Australian director, definitely want to watch for films that are similar to the ones you said, Buzz, Prisoners and Sicario, and there's always compliments for a director. What did you think of Jude Law? Do you think he's going to keep, everything he does is good?
Yeah, I was going to say we've reviewed quite a few films with Jude Law. I think it's like 2 or 3 now. This is probably the third one, and you know, he's becoming one of those actors very quickly. You know, a bit like Philip Seymour Hoffman was before he passed away, and you know, a bit like Jake Gyllenhaal as well, who I'm a big fan of.
Yes.
When he's in a film, it's just generally good. It's like he only picks good scripts, really, and he won't go in any nonsense. So, but yeah, no, in this role, he smashes it as well. You know, I like the. He's kind of like a bit reserved almost in this film, isn't he? You know, he's maybe a bit too masculine, and you know, he's like I say, he's got history, but yeah, he plays the American detective very well. You know, even though he's got a very British background, but yeah, I enjoyed it. But and also you can see that his face has definitely been aged in this film, because when he's on scene in the first few moments of the film, I'm like, who is that? You know, I didn't even realise it. I knew Jude Law was in the film, but it took me a while to clock that it was actually him. So props to the makeup department. But yeah, he smashed it, and then a good couple of actors, to be fair. Both Nicholas Hoult and Jude Law both really stole the show in this film. Thank you very much for watching our review of The Order. If you'd like to watch a similar kind of suspenseful film, we would recommend mine and Alex's review of Reality, if you click the link here. Like and subscribe as always, and take care.